Morning. How y'all doing? Hope everybody doing well. How everybody feeling? I just want to come on here. Today I ain't in the best of my feeling, but like I say, I just come on here and push through and let y'all see that I go through stuff just like everybody else. But I don't just sit in my mess. Um, I'm grateful they decided to wake me up. That means he's not finished with me yet. He's not finished with you either. So despite whatever situation or whatever you're facing, keep being strong. Keep holding on. Keep pressing on. Because if you just sit and not doing anything, the more that pressure weigh down on you. But when you know that you serve a faithful God, nothing can weigh you down because you can release whatever is, you know, trouble in your spirit and place that on Him. That's how much He cares for us. To place our problems, our situation, or whatever heartache we facing. So I just want to motivate somebody today. Not even motivate, encourage. I want to lift somebody's spirit up this morning. Like whatever God brought you to, He's gonna bring you through. You just have to be a faithful servant to not stop. You know, pray big, but don't worry bigger. Because when you worry bigger, that's where doubt seep in. That's where the enemy whisper lies to you. But if you pray, leave it in His hands. And I'm just saying that because I'm sitting outside in my backyard just to, reflect. I'm like, man, I'm only human. And some mornings I just wake up like, I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like doing that. The guy said, you can't just sit in it. You got to keep pushing in it, keep pressing on. So I'm really telling y'all my life story, piece of my testimony, where, you're going through the most. He can either make you or break you. And that's real facts. And I'll be a fool if I let it break me. Because when I look back on all the other stuff that I came through, all the obstacles, all the hurdles I jumped, you got to keep going. That's why I told y'all, you got to have that faith. I'm not saying have that faith like I don't care what's going on in my life, but I don't care enough to let it stress me out because God gonna provide. He gonna take care of me. He's gonna handle that situation if I have the faith to believe, if I have the courage to keep going. See, a lot of us just wait on God, sitting on a couch, sitting in our mess, waiting for God to come save us. But if you don't open up your mouth to confess or repent or actually say, I accept Jesus Christ into my heart, nothing changes. Everything stays the same. But the moment you really lock in and say, okay, I'm not pleased. I'm tired of living this displeasing life. Because I'm going to tell y'all the truth. Um, like for me, I had to realize I'm being obedient, but I'm still standing in the way of what God wants on the other side. That's cutting out old habits. Coming on here sharing my story. I have to do my due diligence. Seek Him diligently. Um, keep praying for other people because what I'm going through is bigger than me. So whatever you're going through is bigger than you. You're not never going to be bigger than the assignment. But you have to submit, trust Him, and that's one of the things I had to really lock in and trust Him. And you know, the enemy comes after you 10 times harder when you steady trusting God. So he be like, that didn't break him. Let me try a different way. And like I said, the hardest part is, seeing my breakthrough. Been doing this content creation with in April make 4 years. I got accomplishment. I got, goals. I have got the plaque. I got all type of things, but I feel like I'm not supposed to be. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And I'm like, I had to have that honest conversation with God. Look, this is what we talked about. reveal to me or tell me what I'm doing wrong or where I missed a step at. Because misalignment can happen in all of our lives. So when I feel like, you know, my biggest struggle was, my finances. Trying any and everything to, feel that comfort again. And that's what God has really worked on me at. You know, you can't serve two masters. You're gonna hate one and you're gonna despise the other one. And, I had to confess to God, like it's not that I love him, but I just want to do better. I want to continue to have, set up generational wealth. So please, show me what I'm doing wrong. And he told me, you ain't doing nothing wrong but self, you know, being impatient. It's gonna happen all in his timing. So sometimes you have to break your timeline so you can trust in his. Like, we'll say it should have happened by now. But who you are to say and tell God when it should happen. For real. Like I had to sit with that. And when I tell you, when you go to God, you gotta be ready because he's not gonna just hurt your feelings. He's gonna correct you. He's gonna strengthen you. He's gonna direct you. He's gonna tell you what you need to actually hear. That's gonna make the shift and it's transformational in your life. That transitioning, it needs to happen for a lot of us. And it's happening for me, but I don't like the process, to be honest. Don't mean I don't trust it. I just don't like where I'm currently at because it feels like everything feels 10 times heavier. And and the inside I feel like you breaking. And that's why I created a song. I don't know if y'all know that I made a song. I can't say too much. And I used to rap, so I just put my life in my raps. So I'll be posting it. The single is gonna be coming out soon. So I'm doing what he's telling me to do. Like he gave me so much talent, too many talents, for me not to be using them, to be, worrying about things that's out of my control. Do the right thing. Make effort to see my kids. So I'm doing that. I want a house. I want to move. My current situation, I don't like my living situation, if I'm being honest, but I make the best of it. I still have a roof over my head. But as a man, you always want to strive to do better. Because as a man of God, not only just a man of God, a man in general, you want to be able to lead properly. And I can lead, in a biblical way and being a man of God. But financially, I can't. And that do something to my pride. Not my pride, just, hey, just being a man. So I don't know if you got men on here that can actually relate. Sometimes you have everything right. You be correct in your spirit, but broke mentally and physically. You know, I just say keep holding on to God. Sometimes we have to fast. A lot of people say they don't get enough stuff from fast. They just don't get clarity. They realize that it was all to bring them closer to God. So whatever you get, that's your confirmation. And when you fast, that's what God wants you to focus on. Everybody get different things when they fast. So don't never let somebody tell you fasting don't do nothing. Everybody's got a different story, a different assignment, a different calling. And when you really hear that, it's gonna change how you see God, how you see the world. Everybody relationship is gonna be different and it's gonna be based off what he say, she say. My situation might be, focus on keep doing the work that I put in front of you. Yours might be pouring into others. Like, being a nurse, a doctor, it could be anything like that. Is everybody's story is different. So I would never judge nobody else's story. But like for right now, I think this is one of the hardest seasons. And like I said, man, I've been going through it one day after another. Bank account locked, child support, not seeing the kids, had to walk away from a job. Content slowed up when I walk away from the job. That was my income. It's so much, getting denied for certain things, not getting opportunities. But I still wake up every morning, even through frustration. I still go to God before I go to anything else. You know, mental health is real, and I thank God a lot because when I hear these stories that these men, famous men, people that's you think that's doing better than you, actually, taking their life, and my heart goes out to the families for all that stuff. But when I look at my life, I'm like, man, I should have been gone, but God kept me the whole time. Give me the strength, even through the moments where I really had, suicidal thoughts because I feel like, man, this is it. The only really thing you know, people that really truly love me is my kids. So when I felt like I got stripped away from them, that's when the suicidal thoughts happened, and it was started happening around me. And I took it as God was just giving me a sign, like, bro, I gave you so much resilience and strength, and you still here, despite you're not seeing your kids, despite where you're currently at. You still give honor to my name. You still praise and you give me the glory. And man, when I tell y'all that, he brought tears to my eye because I could have made a mistake and allowed the devil, the enemy, to whisper and tell me I'm not worthy enough. You believing in God, but you look at your life. You know, like I said, you can call people all day, talk to them, but once that phone hang up, it's just you and your thoughts. You can either sit in your thoughts, or you can talk to God about your thoughts. And you don't have to sit there and assess every thought that you have because most of the time, them thoughts that we have don't actually be true. They're just telling you lies to keep you stuck. And you sitting there trying to analyze everything, it's not gonna help. It actually robbing you. So yeah, I've been going through mental pressure, but I keep pushing through. I can hear the whispers of God. Keep pushing through because He allows us to go through something to actually see our breakthrough. Before He bless you, He's gonna allow you to go through something because now I'm aware. I'm aware, like, okay, this not to hurt me or harm me. This actually to position me. So when He bless me and something else occur, I know how to navigate through it. I'm strong enough. I'm wiser. So never take it as you stuck there. Take it as a lesson to be learned there. So learn as much as you can. Like I say, I appreciate all y'all that, donate to me. Even the ones that talk down on me, I still pray for y'all because you have to be bold. You have to know, you have to stay courage. Be courageous. A lot of people, I see the comments. Oh, I knew there was a page of scam. Nah, I ain't never no scammer. Um, you know, it took a lot out of me to even make a post like that. You know, for y'all to send something to my cash app and all that like that. But like, you know, the enemy will let you sit there when you actually have people that really support you. He'll let you sit there and be like, they're gonna tell you go get a job. And I have. I've been, filling out applications because I know as a man I need stability. Not out here not trying to, work or anything or ducking work. But at the end of the day, God told me to walk away from that job because it was unhealthy. You know, I didn't have no peace. And before it was gonna be over, they was gonna get rid of me probably. So instead of being blindsided, he was telling me to actually trust in him. So like I say, I make what I make. Like I said, I have ebooks. Um, I do mentor. I do one-on-one calling. I do a lot of things. But talking about God, that's something I do for free. The Word of God is free. So that's why I say I have to separate the two. Um, but through it all, I ain't just surviving it. I'm moving through it. I'm putting something into it. You can't move in silence. Sometimes you gotta put people around you just to see what you'll do. If you're gonna wait till you down and out to open up your mouth, or you gonna just suck it up and say, I trust you, God. This person in my life for a reason. You give me the discernment to tell. I appreciate that. Yeah, this situation, like it's one after another. Like it's been for 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. Going back and forth, you know. Yeah, but like my bank account is locked, so I'm operating off of Cash App. And not to go into too many details, something about the IRS and, things that happened in my my only marriage, my divorce. So, they come after you. So I'm trying my best to, resolve the issue. And it's been affecting me, I ain't gonna lie, because I know I had plans for that money. Hey, that's real big. That's real fate. And he's gonna bless you more than that. Sometimes we think money is good, All money, we need money, but all money ain't good money. If it makes you go against what he called you to do, it's not for you. That's why I say I can, I have skills and I can get a job, but most of the time it's just hard. It's real hard. Thank you, Lakeisha. Appreciate it. I appreciate all the support, the love, and y'all don't know what it took for me to actually come on here to open up to that. You know, at the end of the day, you try to do everything on your own, and God to put people in your position to actually help you, to support you, to pray for you. But closed mouth don't never get fed. If you sit there and stay in your head, guess what exactly you're gonna be in your head, and you become more frustrated. You become more doubtful, and you become discouraging because you feel like nothing is happening. But God said you have to put yourself out there. You have to tell your story because your story can help anybody else, and it will help somebody if you talk about it. So I done came a long way, but today it was one of them days I didn't wake up and feel my best. To be honest, I stayed up all night just reading. I was in Proverbs, just reading, talking about a hasty mouth. Uh, so many things that I learned. So I'll be talking about that in my videos and my YouTube videos. Yeah, my Cash App link is on my in my description. But at the end of the day, I was in Proverbs, and that really sharpened my perspective. A lot of things that I was neglecting was right there on that paper. But when you call out to him, he's gonna respond. And he responded last night. It was like not even last night, this morning. I couldn't sleep. I kept tossing and turning. I said, you know what? Grab my Bible and just open up the Bible to Proverbs. I read from 25 to 30, 30 something. And about the judgment and everything in there, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take this because if I needed it, somebody else out there needed it. Yeah, Like I said, I appreciate everybody. Yeah, I slept in my car. Um, with the situation with my brother, I was mad with my mom for a while behind that situation. I had to realize and sit there and remember she's a mother too, so she was trying to protect both of us. So I was staying with her when I was going through my divorce, and when my daughter, well, my daughter mother told me, my brother touched my daughter, so I do like any other man, flashed out, blacked out, and I wasn't talking to my mama for months, weeks, and I was staying in a hotel. Then things slowed up, all field got slow, lost my job. I was sleeping in my car, I ain't telling nobody because that pride will make you do so much. And then I went to church. I went to this church called Bethany. And when I tell you those people helped me, I never forget that. They helped me. They bought me groceries to my little motel room. They helped me apply for jobs. You know, that's how I really got locked in more with my faith, being around more believers. And when I went to that church, I actually felt love, I grew up in a Baptist church, and most Baptist churches, they so judgmental, and they'll talk about you when you're going through something, when you don't look your best, or even when you look your best, they'll thank you more than anybody else, and that's not what your heart shows. So anyway, I went through that situation, and this was around what storm that was that came down here in Louisiana. I think it was not Burroughs. I forgot what the last storm was, when we was out of power for about a month, and I was staying in that hotel, and all this was around the time I lost my brother. So my brother been gone, what, 3 years, 4 years, and that was another hard time in my life, but it shaped me to, you know, don't take my eyes off of Jesus. So by me not taking my eyes off of Jesus, I kept pushing through, kept going through. You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it, Rita. And I kept pushing through, and I found my job. I was working for Valorant. So the health food, yeah, I went back to Valorant, doing good. Then boom, got hit with child support. I'm like, man, I do everything I can for my kids, and I guess it's not enough. So the judge went off the numbers. I'm like, taking more than what I was actually, gaining. I'm like, how I'm supposed to live anywhere when you taking most of my money? Then I got to keep them in insurance. So I suck up my pride. I say, well, I'm gonna do something else. Then that became, a problem. I had my own place. Had to suck that up for a while. I went and live with my mom. Had to come back to my mom's house. So that was another downer for me. So that pushed me back. I'm like, man, can't catch a break. But I stayed working. I got on Facebook, to be a content creator. Started seeing, things looking up. But the minute I start looking up, most stuff started happening. That's when my Capital One account got locked. They froze my account, and I had a good savings in there. I don't know if I'm gonna get it back, but I had to get an attorney. And like I said, y'all, I'm still fighting for my kids, and I feel like the process is slow because you got to pay the lawyer. And right now, I don't have that, type of money, and when you get these public defenders, they don't work hard as, somebody that actually know you. You're 45 minutes from New Orleans. I appreciate y'all. And like I said, I'm not on here looking for pity. I'm just opening up because somebody on the other side of the screen, they're scared to talk about what they're going through. But I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all to talk about what I'm going through. Because at the end of the day, we all human. We all go through something. And I'm just in a losing season. But if I keep being faithful enough to God, one day I'm gonna win because something has to give. And me and my cousin was talking about that the other day. He was like, "Cuz, you one of the consistent, faithful person I know, but something got to give." And bro, in a minute, that man told me God spoke to me, and he said, "It's you, cuz." He said, you doing everything, and then you getting frustrated when you praying for other people, and you see, God answering their prayers, and you like, okay, God, what about me? I'm doing what you're supposed to tell me to do, and I had to remind myself about the story of Job, when Job lost everything, but he stayed faithful enough, and he blessed them with so much, his family, everything, and then he just lost it all. But that story touched me because at the end of the day, he was even. He broke even because the same way God give it to you, the same way He can take it. So that actually humbled me. Like, okay, God, I gotta just stay faithful, even when it don't make sense, because sometimes it don't even make sense to me. And I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all feel like that. Certain trials that y'all went through, it don't make sense to you. So it haven't made sense for a while now. But I mean, I don't keep moving. I keep staying the course, staying focused, staying faithful. And when I feel frustrated, I don't let, frustration let me just, isolate, go quiet. Don't talk about it. Don't talk to y'all about it. I learned to open up. Yeah, now that's bad though. The father, ooh, that's real bad. So yeah, it took me a while, And like I said, I'm dealing with it because I can say I forgive somebody, but I haven't actually forgiven nobody about it. Because it's keeping me away from my daughter. And I don't want my daughter to grow up and think every man is like that. But I can say it, but my action will show it. But by me not seeing them, it bothers me. I can be, in great spirits, and I can get a reminder. Like, if you on Facebook, you can see a reminder, like a picture that pop up, and sometimes it just break my heart. Like, dang, I'm a father. I don't know what my kids doing. I don't know how they feel about me. I don't know if they're in good health. I don't know nothing. I can't pick up the phone and call them and say, "Dad, I love you" or anything like that. And people say, "How you do it?" So keep pushing through the day, and by the night, pray, asking God to give me the strength to go to sleep. The peace to go to sleep. You know, um, like I say, you can call people all day, but you have to face it. Because the more you try not to face it and try to cover it up, the longer it takes for you to actually heal. And I face it. Ooh, that's rough, brother. 8 years. It's been 5 years for me. I didn't see my youngest since she was 5, and she made 10 December 21st on my birthday. So yeah, it's difficult when you know you the active father. Like I said, anything my kids want to do on the weekend, my time was dedicated to him. Yeah, I understand they make it hard. Like for me, going through a divorce, you know, we were supposed to do the joint custody battle, but she didn't have a lawyer, so I didn't even know she had hidden motives. One day I was at work, stopped by to see my kids, looked in the house that we had together, everything was gone. Went to the gas station, I seen her brother-in-law, and he was like, "Don't you know your she moved to Mississippi?" I said, "Mississippi?" So I called her. I was blocked, y'all. I was blocked off of everything, my son's phone, Facebook, everything. So the first thing I did as a father, I'm trying to get in touch with her. I'm trying to, any way I can. So I got in touch with her. She was, and she told her, some people make everything about them just because they're going through life. They don't care what it's doing to you, and they make every excuse in the book. Oh, you didn't do this. You should have did that. I'm speaking as my brother, you should have, did something to him. I'm like, but I did something to him. You wouldn't want to bring him to see me in prison. So then all of a sudden, oh, you're not trying to make time from him. Like I'm a working man. You want child support, and you want me to spend time with them. They're not here, so I have to drive way to wherever you was in Mississippi, and still expect me to pay child support. Like, yeah, that's why I say. So she makes it like, she tells the world like, oh, he don't want to see the kids, and knowing in her heart that I love my kids to death. I'll do anything for them. I'll walk away from content creating to be, with my kids. So that wasn't the case. It was just I moved on. And my daughter, when I got in a relationship with this lady, we ended up moving together. And my daughter FaceTimed me. And the lady had two daughters. So my daughter seen the picture because my camera on my iPhone flipped. My daughter said, "Who that is?" And the lady I was talking to, she was like, "You're gonna be blocked again." And sure enough, I was blocked. I'm like, I don't understand it. Some people can be happy in their relationship, but they don't want you to move on. They want you to feel miserable because that love that we had for each other was no longer there. I moved on. I finally moved on, and that didn't sit well with her. So, whew, I've been there before too. I've been there too. I feel like another day. I'm so used to making 20 plus. So this job called me. I'm like 14. Like, man, by me being on child support, I don't see no check. I may see $100 every week. And like I make more than that on Facebook. So I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna mess with that. I'm gonna keep trying, keep praying. You gotta have that logic thinking too. For me, I'm speaking for me. Like, I can't, settle for that. Can't get unemployment because I walked away from the job. So they told me I don't require for it in Louisiana. So I just chalked it up now. Yeah, yeah. So I had to really back to the kid situation. I had to really sit there and say, okay, it's costing you your peace. You can't focus at work. If you're no good to yourself, you can't be no good to them. So I had to face it like, okay, I'm gonna get this in black and white. So every chance I got, I was trying to get a lawyer. I started with a guy, then I ended up with a lady, and the lady she helped me as much as she can with the money that I had. So now it's at a standstill. So I'm fighting for them. It's just hard, man, when you have limited resources and your finances not where it's supposed to be. They say never give up on your kids, and I'm not giving up on them. But what can I do if I don't have it? A lot of people say never give up and stop fighting for your kids. I'm not about to do nothing to incriminate myself to get money and go against everything I believe in, and they're gonna end up 10 times worse. So I have a mind out here. I'm not gonna get tricked out of my position just to say I have my kids and I gotta look over my shoulder. So it's hard, y'all. So today, that's why I say I had that burden on me, and I say I had to share with y'all because somebody else might can relate to my story. Because many people can relate to your story. But I appreciate everybody that donated to my cash app. Not only just to my cash app, but just helping me out. Yeah, that's all I can do. I'm being the best version of myself. Like, okay, no matter what they say, that doesn't define or dictate who I'm becoming. Like God knows my heart. People see you for a version of you who you used to be, but they don't understand your story, your walk. They'll never understand that. So let them. So I say let them. And but YouTube, I'm trying to figure it out again. I'm trying to figure it out on YouTube again. I hit a spike when my videos was doing good, and something just killed that traction. I'm like, man, there's always something. But I'm not gonna stop because I love what I do. I love encouraging somebody, praying for somebody, and then to see the results. Like, man, God is faithful. God answers a prayer in a minute, and I appreciate you that for saying that you're doing better than you know. But sometimes I don't feel like it. That's why I posted that video. God say, you're doing good, but I don't. My life don't show it. My bank account, my situation, and sometimes, like I said, I want to be real. Sometimes I don't even feel like it, but I had to remember, just because you don't see it or it's not going or it's not looking right, doesn't mean God ain't working. So I always remember that He's working, even when I can't see it. Because some of us will judge our life based on what we see right now instead of what God is doing or what He's working on. Yeah, we be our own critics. We'll sit there and judge and say, "Oh man, this is how it's gonna end up," and God was like, "Mm-mm, you're doing too much talking. Be quiet. Shut your mouth. Let me take care of that. If you trust in me, I will. I will meditate on that scripture. I appreciate you, Lakeisha, for real, for real. Like that was just a blessing in disguise. I could have just sat and isolate myself and just be in my head all day. So I just like his words always encourage me and lift me. But sometimes you need somebody to pull back into you. Yes, yes, yes. Light in the darkness. So I'm grateful for all y'all. So I hope all y'all doing good today. I'll be back on here later. I'm about to get my day started. But I appreciate everybody that, donate or will donate to my Cash App. Like, nope, I'm not begging. I'm just grateful enough to, come on here and speak the truth and, just open up about it because God is going to open up a door when the time is right. So I appreciate y'all. Much love. I'll keep my chin up. You too. Keep your head up.